Alrighty, guys, welcome back. I tell you what, the emotions are high tonight because it's the last podcast for us. So first of all, welcome to the Rugby League off-season. Myself and Isaac along for the ride. Once again, he's back. He's still sort of in his sick bed, but he has crawled out of his bed to be with everyone tonight. He goes, nah, I need to be there for the last one. It's an origin-style atmosphere here, and he's just really put in the work. It's one of those stories where he's off the hospital bed, came in, and he's going to be doing a man of the match performance. So, Isaac, it's good to see you, mate.
Oh, it's good to be back. I'm sorry that I missed last week. As I was explaining before we started recording, it was a bit disgusting last week. I've crawled from the depths of my man flu, and I have returned. And look, I've come at the perfect time because we have so much to get stuck into, and so much. As for our last episode, the footy gods have blessed us. That's for sure.
It certainly has. And man flu is definitely real, guys. I'm telling you out there, as soon as I get it, the missus knows I'm out for like at least 3 days. Like you don't want to be around me. I'm a moody, you know what? It's not good. I'm not good being as a sick person at all. And it seems to always linger with me. I just have it for ages. I just can't ever get rid of it. But as I said, a bit emotional here because this is the last one for 2025, guys. So I won't say the last podcast of the year because that will be a lie. We will be back for some Supercoach stuff when it drops in the next couple of weeks. So that will be the start of our 2026 podcast. But for 2025 and 2025 material, the season, this is it. So I'll do a lot of thank yous at the end of this episode. Let's get right into it, though, first, because like Isaac has mentioned, there is so much to talk about. It's ridiculous for this time of year. It's literally the 4th of December, opening advent calendar to the kids, doing all that sort of stuff. Yet NRL is back pages. They're taking up 6 or 7 pages in the newspapers. They're all over social media still. In a way, I absolutely love it, but it's crazy where things have gotten to. So first of all, guys, the West Tigers. Now, we've both done some videos and that over this and some posts over the last few days. So there is actually so much happening here. So word of warning, this could be a lengthy sort of segment in the podcast, but I think it's valid because, as I said, there is so much happening, and we're going to try to tackle it in a few different parts. And the first part will be the boardroom side of it, and obviously the fallout that's happened there. So, Isaac, I know you've been all over this, crawling along, scrolling along, taking phone calls. Talk to us about the boardroom side of it for the Tigers and what's happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I know we were waiting for an off-season / pre-season where we didn't get into Tiger stuff, negative Tiger stuff, but here we are. And look, there's a lot of intricacies with this story. There's a lot of strained relationships amongst the Tigers faithful over at Tigers HQ. But look, essentially, what's happening at the moment is that former I believe CEO, Chairman Lee Hadjipantelis, that's a mouthful, made claims earlier in the week that the club, there was a big push for the club to shift back to its roots and become the Western Magpies once again, the Western Suburbs Magpies. And that there was a push to remove Balmain from the now merged club. So, following those huge claims that there's a massive internal push for that to happen, which obviously has not gone over well with Tigers fans, and rightfully so. I can completely understand that. The CEO of Holman Barnes Group, which owns the West Tigers, has issued a statement saying that the joint venture is under no threat. So amongst all this back and forth, this comes as 4 independent directors were sacked by the board this week, which was, sacked by Holman Barnes Group. So a ton going on there. They're letting some key figures in the club go as there's, a major reported push for the Western Suburbs Magpies to come back in. And look, the ownership group owns, West Ashfield and have a majority share in the Western Suburbs Magpies, while also holding a 90% stake in the NRL club. So for Holman Barnes to essentially be doing such a massive cleanup amid this, kind of drama, and a lot of people now pushing for Holman Barnes to be taken out, it's a cluster. It's genuinely crazy, and it's starting to trickle down into the roster and the coaching staff who is now feeling the brunt of this huge drama that's going on.
It's I cannot believe we're here. I really can't, because the Tigers have just come off their best year in a just some really bright sparks coming out of the Tigers for the first time in a while. And I'll just quickly go back a little bit. I've actually got some family ties with the Magpies. My pop, he obviously played for Parramatta, but he actually did spend a couple of seasons with the Magpies back in the day as well. So there is a bit of family ties to this, but that doesn't mean I'm on the Magpies bandwagon. No, I have a soft spot for the Magpies, which means I have a soft spot for the West Tigers naturally because of family heritage and a background there. But I just want people part of this club to just get their head around the fact that this is the club. This is the brand new club. This is the West Tigers. It's been around for 25 years now, and it's not going to change. Like, the NRL won't even allow it to change. It's not going to happen. The Magpies won't be back, or it'll take a hell of a lot to come back. And will it be worth it? No, it's not. Just get on board the West Tigers. You've finally done some good things on the field this year, which the fans have been waiting for a long time. And as I said in my video yesterday, that's who I feel sorry for the most here is the fans, because they've been through so much now for about 10 or 15 years where there's been no finals football. They've just basically been the laughing stock for year on year. Negative story after negative story, in-house fighting galore. Like, it's just been an absolute, as you said, cluster, you know what. And this to all spark up because the jersey's too orange. What? Like, the West Tigers are black and orange and white. And guess what? You've got an orange jersey. You've got a white jersey, black and white sort of jersey as well. Like, you've got a bit of both. Are you kidding me? Like, everyone who watches this game, any rugby league fan associates the West Tigers. Like, if I'm doing a graphic of the West Tigers, I make sure I've got majority orange in that graphic because that's what I associate with the West Tigers. Like, I just cannot believe, Isaac, we're here once again. It just shows to me the NRL really needs to start getting involved with this, because whoever's involved at the moment, as you said, the Holman Barn Group and the board that's currently still there, I can't see them doing anything right here. I can't see this ending well while they're there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things where it's almost concerning that there hasn't been a universal acceptance of where the Tigers are at now. And I can only speak from my own perspective as someone who obviously works in rugby league every single day and is constantly, sourcing different stories and learning different stories and meeting different people in this league. I, for one, cannot understand why there is such a major push for this. At the end of the day, I'm almost certain that any fan of the Western Magpies or the West Tigers, the Balmain Tigers, they all want to see the West Tigers succeed right now. That is almost.
You've won a comp. You've got a history of winning a comp.
Like, this is one of those things where it's almost like creating drama for the sake of creating drama, and. Again, this is just going to negatively impact some major parts of your club, which we'll get into. But this does not feel like it's worth the drama and the hassle that it's now creating. Like, this is making major headlines. And look, rightfully so, the claims are absolutely massive. But it almost feels like the Tigers are tigering it up right now. And it's become a stain on the NRL, the fact that we are getting these dramatic, in-house fighting and tensions and headlines every single year. They just had their best year, like you said, their best year in years, and it wasn't that impressive, which should be telling you something about what the Tigers have been doing. And that's not to insult the Tigers, but more so to say, like, there's some real issues here, and it's not what they're called in 2027 and 2028. There are some deeper issues here. And look, I believe there's now petitions being put through to get rid of the current ownership. Bulldogs' major sponsor, Laundy Hotels, owned by Arthur Laundy, is now considering buying that 90% stake in the club as well, to essentially save the Tigers and stop them from being kicked out of the comp so the Magpies can come in. But as he said, it's not going to happen anyways. It's absolutely ridiculous, the claims that are coming through. And Hadja, and I'm going to butcher his name again, Hadja Pantelis really needs to shift away from the Tigers narrative. He was sacked for a reason, and this is the last thing that the club really needs to be dealing with right now.
It feels like personal agendas are the real driving point here. And the betterment of the club, the West Tigers have just been forgotten about, it totally ignored, and it just shows me what, like, that's for me is the whole and the main thing that I look back and just sit back as a non-fan and just see this and go, you know what, this to me signifies these guys aren't what's best for this club moving forward, because you can't identify the fact that you just had the best 12 months that the club can remember after originally midway through the season, it looked like it was going to be an absolute basket case with the Galvin and De Silva debacle and the issues with player managers, but you've got rid of that. You sorted it out. You still got a really healthy roster coming into next year. People seem on board with the coach. Richo's doing some fantastic things at the club. You're getting a few upgrades with some grounds and stuff. Like, things are looking like they're going in the right direction for once. So if you're doing the right thing by the club, you swallow your pride, you move on, and you go, you know what? Let's just keep this on the back. Let's just write some notes down. Let's keep a watch on things. And if we need to, we attack this when things aren't going right next year. If that was to happen, if it doesn't, well, things are good. Move on. Let's keep going. You mentioned one quick thing I want to have a quick chat about before we go to the players and what this impacts from the on-field side of things. The Laundry stuff. I cannot wrap my head. I've had a few conversations with people today about this, and I can't wrap my head around it. And I know a few others can't, because Lawn is the major sponsor of the Bulldogs at the moment. He's heavily involved with that club. We know in the past he's been heavily involved in potential negotiations with players like Tino, where he offered him in basically a pub, and other players. Now, I don't know how this can work, because I don't know if you're able to, or if you're allowed to by the NRL, to be that involved in one club and then be so high up and own basically another NRL club. Like, to me, it doesn't seem like it would fit. Like, if anything, it feels like he needs to step away from the Bulldog side of it if he wants to do this, go all in with the Tigers, and he has to make a choice. Because my example today was, if he is involved in, say, negotiations with a player becomes off contract, and both the Bulldogs and the Tigers are in for this player, and he owns the Tigers and he's major sponsor of the Bulldogs. How does that work? He's going to know critical information about both clubs' spends and salary cap, where it's at, things like that. Like, I don't know if it can actually. I know it's a great idea on paper and he means well. I love it, but I just don't think it can actually work.
Well, firstly, I'd like to say, and you finished off on that. Good on Arthur Laundy, because he is he's awesome, and the fact that people forget he came to the Bulldogs' rescue 5 years ago now, when the Dogs had literally no spot, it was just an empty jersey and had nothing on the jersey, no major sponsor, nothing, and he absolutely saved that club. Now, on the technical side of things, I don't know exactly how it would work. Now, obviously, the Bulldogs are sponsored by Laundy Hotels, not by Arthur Laundy's per se. So I guess there is sort of a loophole, some leeway there. There wouldn't be a conflict of interest on paper. Now, saying that, not many sponsors are as heavily involved with their clubs as Arthur Laundy is with the Bulldogs. He is a major part of what they're doing over there. Like, you've got, obviously their chairman, you've got Gus Gould, and you've got Arthur Laundy, who's right up there. Now, whether his plan is to simply feed money into the Tigers and then step back and that's that. I guess it could work potentially, but there would need to be some real big policies and jurisdictions put in place in order to negate any kind of conflict of interest. I recall a few years ago, again with the Bulldogs, I believe when Gus Gould came over to the Bulldogs, he was still somewhat working in a capacity with the Warriors as well, kind of helping them come up as well. Again, that would have been a conflict of interest, but it's, ended up not really being too much of an issue. Potentially there are loopholes here for it to happen. And it could literally be Arthur Laundy putting $20 to $30 million towards the Tigers and then letting it sit there, which, is nice in theory, but I'm probably with you. I don't see completely how it would work for either party, really.
The fallout continues. Obviously, we've got Richo at the moment that's looking like, as the hours go, it feels like it's become more of a question of when, not if, he will step away from the position, which it's just really unfortunate. Like I said before, he's done such a great job. Things are starting to get on the right page, but he has a clause. If they got rid of Barry O'Farrell on the board, he was able to walk away with 2 years pay, mind you. It's a crazy clause, but good on him for having it. And the way the Tigers have treated and this fall that's happened sucked into them in a way, like that serves them right. But then there's also the fallout. Benji is coach. Like, obviously he's got his question marks around him. There's going to be some pressure on him next year. I don't think everyone's completely sold on Benji, but as I said, there's one thing. He's got a united playing group for the first time in a long time at the Tigers, which you'd have to say puts him in good stead next year to be fighting for an eighth sort of spot. And then you've got players in negotiations. You've got Luai and you've got Buller, who, by all reports, before this unfolded, were very, very close to. Yeah. Luai was close to getting rid of his clauses, and Buller was close to going, "Yep, let's get the extension happening or done." And now things are really put on the back burner.
Yeah, absolutely, and that takes us straight into potentially one of the biggest stories in the NRL if it does fall apart. The club was very close on retaining both Jerome Luai and Jahream Buller. Now, for as many people would know, Jerome Luai does have a couple get out clauses in his current contract with the West Tigers, and Jahream Buller is currently in the midst of renegotiating a deal with the club. Now, I have been told that in recent weeks that Jahream Buller, if things don't go to plan, he does have somewhat of a plan B with another rival Sydney club. Now, the Tigers were very confident that they could re-sign him, and by all reports, he was most likely happy to extend his time over in Tiger Town. But look, at the end of the day, in the back of his head, he does have a plan B, and that is something I've been told by multiple sources now with a rival Sydney club. And this probably... I know you want to ask which club it is. Look, and that'll definitely come further to light as the weeks go by. But look, at the end of the day, he does have a plan B in his head at the moment, and with this whole drama that's going on with the club and now their negotiations halting, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a few more storylines and headlines come out from that. And then the Jerome Luai side of things. Now, he has previously stated that he wasn't interested in removing the clauses. However, reports indicate that he was negotiating the possibility of doing that. But again, that's been halted due to this whole drama that's been going on with the club. And look, and I know a lot of Tigers fans were hounding me today saying that, they're going to be loyal, they're going to stay with the club. And I absolutely love the optimism. But at the end of the day, when two major negotiations that are essentially career defining are on the table and they've been pushed to the side for bigger dramas that probably didn't need to happen, that leaves a sour taste in anyone's mouth. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on. And while I know a lot of Tigers fans are quietly confident that they will retain their stars, I wouldn't be surprised if Jerome Luai does end up keeping those get out clauses and Jahream Buller potentially moves on to another club.
Yeah. Final thing before we move on, I just want to quickly go over one more thing that people in probably listening are guilty of. Now, there's a few people out there that get very annoyed when people talk about the Tigers and they don't call them the West Tigers. Now, I think this is the part of the bigger issue here, the fact that you are a merged club, and naturally, everyone just associates each team, each club with their mascot name. So the Brisbane Broncos, no one says, I'm a Brisbane fan. They go, I'm a Broncos fan. The Melbourne Storm, no one says, I'm a Melbourne fan. They say, I'm a Storm fan. The Parramatta Eels, no one goes, I'm a Parramatta fan, or kind of. Actually, Parramatta's a different one. They go Para type thing, or actually Para's probably over the Eels, so that's a bad one to use. My apologies. But guys, the Tigers, like, that's just your mascot. You're the Tigers. You're known as the Tigers. It's not a disrespectful term at all. It's not someone trying to diminish what the west side of things do, and we know that you're the West Tigers. It's just you're the Tigers. Like, and that's your club.
And at the end of the day, and this has been something, and you mentioned it earlier, I personally, again, as someone who works in rugby league, I personally don't even acknowledge the fact that there was a merger. This is just a club to me. This is just a club like any other club. And I've received messages and DMs howling me about, stating the wrong colors of the club, saying, we're not orange and black, or we're orange, like all these... Really, like, is that really what we're doing? And that's exactly why there's a divide. And one more note I want to make is that every year clubs are talking about, oh, we're the biggest club in Sydney, we're the biggest club in Queensland, all these really exciting things, talking about crowd numbers and memberships and blah, blah, blah. And, you look at the two top teams every year in terms of, attendance, the Bulldogs and the Broncos. And then you've obviously got the Roosters there, you got the Eels floating around as well. You've got these clubs and the reason I bring this up is because fans of those clubs really feel a sense of pride that they've got such a united fan base. The Tigers have the opportunity to be just that. You are lucky enough to have fans from two different clubs, from two different identities and cultures and histories, and you have the opportunity to be united, to go to games wearing the same jersey, to hound the other team and other teams' fans, and just be essentially a force to be reckoned with. So there's a real opportunity there to make this club a powerhouse club. There's a reason why, players say they want to go to the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. It's because, the fans are, while every other club hates the fans, people who play for the club really enjoy the passion that comes with playing for that club. And the same with the Brisbane Broncos. This is why people like playing for the Broncos. It's a superstar franchise and it's one of the biggest in the country. And so the Tigers definitely have the opportunity to do that. And it's a shame that there's a few bad apples that are essentially blocking the path to that potential.
Yeah, just get on the same page, please, guys. There's some great people out there. I've been listening to SCN last few days, and Joel Kane is one that just is, for mine, is a must-have on that new boardroom. And he's mentioned it multiple times now. He's saying it needs to be West Tiger people, no West people, no Balmain people that have grown up and come through the West Tigers side of things, and just get on with it. So I hope that all happens. I'd really appreciate. I think fans will appreciate that, and just have a 12, 24-month period where just everything's silent in the back of house. I think that's what you guys, the fans, absolutely deserve. Moving on, we've got obviously the big story broke today. It was confirmation from the Sydney Roosters that signed with the club. Now, this is for 2027, guys, on a 3-year deal. So diminishing any rumours about potentially PNG or the Bears or anything like that, 3-year deal. The Roosters have got their man. And look, Garrick, competitor, I really like him. I think it's a signing that he'll play on the wing as well, which I think is his best position and will suit the Roosters down to a T. They've got, obviously, Marky Mark will be leaving at the end of next season. And you've got Daniel Tupou, who there's rumours could be tossing up, hanging up the boots by then as well. If not, he'll only be going around for probably one more year in that contract period anyway. So this is a big signing, Isaac. The Roosters have done it again.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just finished on exactly what I was going to start with. The Roosters have done it again. And gosh, I feel bad for Manly fans who, I guess, are feeling a bit of bitterness towards the Roosters. Who are feeling a bit of bitterness towards the Roosters at the moment. Look, a perfect signing, absolutely perfect signing. It was one of those things where I feel like the Roosters are just nailing every signing. Now, I have had question marks over the whole DCE thing, but at the end of the day, you're bringing in Reece Robson, you're bringing in DCE, you're bringing in Ruben Garrick, you're bringing in these guys who are just such good fits for this club. But all three of them do feel like a Roosters to me in one way or another, and it's a wild statement to say, considering DCE and what he's done over at Manly, and in a lesser regard, Ruben Garrick. But all three, I feel, excellent acquisitions for the club. I'm super excited to see Ruben Garrick there, and as he said, he will most likely be playing on the wing, which is super exciting. I think that is his best position as well. I think he's close to an Origin level winger on his day. Now, there is also talk about potentially Daniel Tupou hanging up the boots. Now, whether that's in 27, 28, there is a little bit of talk around that. And look, there's also talk about, obviously James Tedesco has signed an extension, but, his time in the NRL will be coming to a close over the next 5 years. Could we see, Ruben Garrick shift to fullback? Could we see, Marky Mark come back from Union and play fullback, which he has hinted to doing before? There are options there now for the club, and I'm sure I'm forgetting someone as well. So there's definitely some. Ooh, yeah, potentially. Mate, you know what? I think every Roosters fan is quietly praying. I'm not as confident on that fact, unfortunately. But look, again, like these are options that the Roosters have, and if any club can do it, the Roosters can do it. So yeah, they've got options. And Ruben Garrick is he slots in so perfectly. I love this signing for the Roosters.
Yeah, I agree. I'm surprised a few more clubs out there didn't go a bit harder for Garrick, to be honest with you. The Bears, the signings have started finally. Hallelujah. Still, there was apparently an announcement in the last week or so that they're going to push back and officially launch their jersey and merch and logo in 2026. I think they've missed a massive I think someone needs to go there and smack a few people across the ears there, because it's Christmas time, guys. Why wouldn't you get it out now so people can get it for Christmas presents? And it just seems too obvious to me that I couldn't believe when I seen that release came out to say, no, we'll wait till 2026, whatever. But anyway, the signings. So it has started. Toby Sexton leads it. And then we've obviously got a couple, an Englishman, Harry Newman is coming over as well. International, recently played in the Ashes series, which probably doesn't do him any good because not many people rated anyone outside of Herbie Farnworth in that series, or Brimson's little cameo as well. And then a couple of other younger sort of guys who are looking for a chance. This is the sort of signings that I think we'll be seeing a lot more of the Bears. But to be fair, they're all decent. They've got to start somewhere, and they finally have. There's also a heavy rumor today, which I haven't found confirmation of yet, I don't believe, but I know you posted about it as well, so which means I'm going to take basically he has signed. But Isaac Fa'asul-Malawi, not the Fa'asul-Malawi that they wanted, but the brother.
Yes.
Who knows what can happen there? But he has potentially signed as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm keen to kind of get into all of this. So, a couple that you didn't mention is Amali Bitongane, I believe is how you pronounce his name, and he comes from the Cowboys. And you've also got Luke Smith, who's coming from the Bulldogs. Now, I know everyone's super excited about Toby Sexton, and rightfully so. He absolutely deserves the shot. I'm most excited about Luke Smith. I believe he captained the Bulldogs New South Wales Cup side, and he's a huge loss for the Bulldogs, and he's going to be a star in this league. Now he'll likely play in the back row for the Perth Bears. He made his debut in 2025, and he was very impressive. He's a terrific leader, and he's a major athlete as well. So he is one that I think that a lot of Bears fans and NRL fans probably aren't aware that, this is such a big signing, but it really is. It's close to, I guess, the Jacob Preston a few years ago to the Dogs. I kind of see that similar trajectory, and obviously there wasn't much room for him over in Belmore, but there definitely is over the Bears. You've also got, Isaac Fa'asul-Malawi, who is not at the level of his brother, obviously at that superstar level, but his brother Tino has said on multiple occasions that he is intrigued by the idea of playing with his brother. Now, we obviously know they had a short stint together over at the Titans, but while I'm still not overly confident that Tino does sign with the Bears, the Bears have reportedly shifted full focus to Tino now after signing Isaac. That was revealed today. And so, look, while I'm not super confident that they land Tino, I've been told that they've essentially shifted all their focus to him.
Interesting times ahead. I believe I heard him in an interview yesterday. I think there's potentially a few more signings going to be released before Christmas time as well for the Bears. So keep your eyes peeled to the social media pages, guys. No doubt. As soon as it happens, Isaac will be all over it.
Yeah, well, as you say that, actually, I would expect as well Penrith Panthers Liam Henry to sign in the next few days. I expect that to be announced very, very soon. And also Tyron Wishart, I expect to sign with them. But Liam Henry looks all but signed. Tyron Wishart has toured their facilities, and we're now waiting to see what his decision is. But look, to be honest, I think that they land both of them.
Liam Henry, another victim of the dreaded man flu, mind you. That delayed everything at the start of it. So Lomax and Paps. Now, this will probably be the last time we talk about either of them because they've shut down talks of an NRL return at the moment. So it has been put on to cold water, which doesn't surprise me. I think they left for a reason. The clubs sort of got their vibe that they were a bit over it as well. And I know they were, at the time when R360 collapsed, so to speak, everyone jumped on it. It felt like all the media were going, "Oh, they're coming back, blah blah blah. Well, should they come back?" Things like that. They weren't interested. Like they did look like they wanted to just literally get away for a while. And I think the Paps one is probably. I think Lomax is gone. I don't think he actually will come back. At least for a few years anyway. The Paps one I find interesting. I generally think he'll probably go for at least that 12-month phase, but I think if anything now this R360 has fallen over, I think the Bears should be doing everything they can to get Paps over to him. I think that could be a legitimate chance.
Yeah, I'm probably a little bit less confident on the Pappenhausen side of things. Just by the way that he's speaking, he sounds really burnt out and drained. Now he's obviously been lapping it up. Now he's doesn't have a grueling preseason to go through. He seems like he's come on record now to say he's uninterested in an NRL return, at least for now. And there's a possibility that he doesn't return to professional sport at all. He said he's played for 10 years, and if he hung it up now, he'd be happy with what he's done in the league, and that's not the sound of someone who's hungry for more. Now, things can definitely change, and I do think that he is going to get that footy itch 12 months from now, but I'm not overly confident in what he decides to do. And look, I don't know what his other ambitions are in terms of professional sport. I don't know if he's training to be a boxer like Zach Lomax is, who we'll get into in a sec. But look, by all accounts, he just needs a break from professional sports and probably the limelight as well. Shifting over to Zach Lomax, a bizarre one. I believe that he can't return to the NRL until 2029 unless it's with the Parramatta Eels. Now, Joel, you can speak to this. I don't know if many Parramatta Eels fans want him back by the comments that I've had flooding my posts on Zach Lomax. A lot of Eels fans don't seem too keen on having him back. I don't think the club is overly keen on having him back as well, considering the lack of resistance in letting him go in the first place. And look, now it's been revealed that he's been training with UFC superstar and Australian legend Alex Volkanovski's team over there and training for a potential MMA UFC boxing debut. And by all reports, seems like he's pretty good at it. So he's also met with Super Rugby as well and could be looking at a potential rugby union switch. So a lot up in the air with the Zach Lomax thing. Probably a little bit easier to talk about Pappenhausen because he literally just wants to chill at home for a bit. Zach Lomax is a little bit more all over the place at the moment.
Yeah, Zach Lomax sort of made his bed, got to lie in it, so to speak. But at the same time, I'm not as critical or emotional about this as a lot of the Para fans are. I think Para fans can be very emotional at times, and rightly so. We've been starved of a premiership now for 40 years. We've gone through things like the Tigers stuff over the years as well. It's been a hard little period there, but especially post the grand final loss where we all thought the year after would be our year, and it just failed miserably. But Lomax is a good player. If he was to get his head right and be all in, I'd welcome him back into the club. I'm not going to be silly about that or naive about that. He's a very, very good player, and I think he actually makes Parramatta a more legit chance. It's I'm a bit cautious now next year. I know a lot of people had Parramatta in their top 8 next year, but losing Lomax a big key, I think, and it will hurt. Especially if we are to have periods where Moses is down, we need another big game player. Lomax was one of those guys who would step up and go, "Give me the ball. I want the ball. I'll make the moment happen." And so I think emotionally, I get it. People are annoyed that he left, but guys, we said it a few times throughout this whole R360 stuff. It was ridiculous money, and we could not begrudge anyone taking it for what it was going to be. So much less work, so much more money, travel the world, set yourselves up in your family. Like, everyone else was just out there was jealous that they couldn't get that sort of opportunity, because I guarantee you everyone listening would have taken it 100%. So I can't begrudge him. If the club met with him and he met with the club over the next few months and they came up with an agreement to welcome him back, I'd cheer him on. I'd wish him all the best. I'm not putting a big red pen through his name like I've seen a lot of people do. So, I'd definitely welcome him back. But someone who I don't think will be welcomed back for a little bit, actually, no, sorry, I shouldn't say that, because their CEO came out after this and said, we hope to have him back at the club at some point. Playing a little bit of games there, mental games. But funny that they just signed Pezzett to like a 4-year deal, so I don't think it'll happen anytime soon. Kobe Black, we predicted it. It wasn't hard to see what was going to happen. Finally released to the Raiders, so is signed effective immediately. Already in pictures in the Raiders jersey. Looks to be loving life already. Man, this is an exciting signing, Isaac. The work the Raiders are doing in the recruitment market at the moment over the last 24 months, especially with young talent, has to be spoken about so much more. And I'll get into it in some season preview stuff, but they are doing God's work, so to speak. Like Ricky Stewart, what he is selling to these youngsters to get them over there. And let's not forget, guys, and sorry to the locals, but Canberra is a shithole. Like, it's just not somewhere most would want. Like, Kobe Black, I can say that because I was from Bateman's Bay down the south coast, so I know a lot of those Canberra locals would come and bombard our beaches and stuff, and even Canberrans will tell you it's a shithole. So for these local talent to be going over there and putting all their eggs in the basket and signing decent term deals, it shows you that something's cooking at Canberra.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of Canberra being a shithole, you talked to I had an interview with St. George Illawarra Dragons recruit David Farley a couple months ago now, and he was talking about his return to Australia amid a lot of homesickness from New Zealand, and he returned and he came to Canberra. And in saying that, well, you'd think so, but he said that being in Canberra, he actually finally integrated himself into Australian lifestyle, and he felt so comfortable at the club, and they really made him feel comfortable. So and credit to Canberra Raiders, Ricky Stewart, because they, I guess, know what they've got to offer there in terms of scenery and weather, but they still make these players feel comfortable, and they make them feel welcomed and make players want to be there. So just thought I'd drop that little tidbit because, again, a lot of people say the same thing about the Canberra, and perhaps rightfully so. I've personally only been to Canberra for primary school camps. So, but yeah, look, they're doing a really good job over there, and they've nailed another one. They've got Kobe Black in there now. Kobe Black, who is going to be an absolute superstar. Everyone talks about Mitchell Woods. Kobe Black is right up there with the young halves that are just going to explode into the NRL. Now,
I'd say Kobe Black's the pick of them all, in my opinion.
Yeah, it definitely, and I wouldn't be able to push back too far. I think you've got Kobe Black, you've got Mitchell Woods, and you've also got Toby Rodwell as well from the Sydney Roosters. Like, there are a few young halves who are coming through who are just absolute studs, and Kobe Black is one of them. Now, in saying that, do I think that he comes in and just plays first grade and he's an NRL superstar from the bat? No, I don't think so. At least not from round one. I can see them integrating him slowly. And we got to remember as well, the elephant in the room, Ethan Sanders is there. He's been biding his time. I believe he came from Parramatta. So he came from Parramatta, and he went there for opportunity because he didn't want to be behind Mitchell Moses. And look, this is somewhat of a I don't know if it's a slap in the face yet. I guess we'll see if he's given a real shot at that 7 jersey. I think he should be their halfback starting round one, and saying Ethan Sanders and Kobe Black should be put to work essentially to grab that spot. And speaking of young guns, the Raiders have plenty, and they've got now Chevy Stewart waiting for a spot, and potentially Ethan Sanders or Kobe Black as well. So they got a couple youngsters there who a bit of a logjam per se, and I think that we could see somewhat of a selling from the Canberra Raiders over the next 12 to 18 months of these two young stars, whether that's Black and Stewart or Sanders and Stewart. I'd probably say Sanders and Stewart. But yeah, look, there's a bit of a logjam there at the moment. It's not a bad issue to have, and Ricky Stewart has absolutely nailed this.
100% they have. I'm in my head, I'm trying to think, is this opening the door to be pushing Strange into the centers at some point, to have both Sanders? I personally wouldn't go that way, especially after the season Strange has just had. I'm just putting it out there. I'm just putting an idea, a suggestion out there, but maybe that might be the way. Otherwise, I've said this to a few people in comments and stuff, that maybe Sanders just the hype was a bit much. He didn't live up to it. He is very young still. He's got plenty of time to get into that sort of hype and live up to it. But so far, maybe the Ricky Stewart and the Eagles were happy to let him go. Both have sort of gone, there's just something holding them back going all in with this guy, which who knows? We're not behind the four walls. We can't say. But moving on, the Storm have confirmed a trio of signings led by Jack Hetherington, Trent Tolau as well, both on 1-year deals, and then Mania Watiri until 2027 as well. So a couple of really astute signings. I'm really keen to see Jack Hetherington for him, and I'm really also excited to see Tolau, how he goes for him, because everything I've seen from him so far, he's a gun. He obviously won't get a starting spot, not going to make outlandish claims like that. He'll be a backup sort of guy, but if he can get a bit of a stint there, if Hughes or Munson that goes down, like I anticipate him to just take that and just run with it and just be one of those guys who start going, the Bears or PNG have to just give him a 4 or 5 year deal type thing, like one of those sorts of players, because he's a really exciting player. I think Hetherington, obviously off the bench, under Bellamy, I can see him just going to a level we haven't seen yet as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, speaking of Trent Tolau, to get off the bat, again, he'll be a utility for the club. Who have the Storm's last 2 utilities been? Right, the Nico Hines, who is Nico Hines, he's a superstar of our game, and Tyrone Wishart, who is a current utility at the club. Now, probably pointing towards an exit for Tyrone Wishart, which, he deserves a starting role at this point. But my point being that their number 14s have historically been absolute freaks and huge standouts. And when given the opportunity, they take it with both hands. So that's a really exciting one. Jack Hetherington's a really exciting one as well. He has had some glimpses of brilliance over his career, most notably, I'd say, at the Bulldogs and obviously at the Knights as well. And then you've obviously got Waitare, who, is, another utility back who could, spark some, a little bit of competition in their backline as well. I will throw one more in there now. These 3 men have signed officially. It also came out today that Oren Keeley from the Dolphins is likely headed over to the Melbourne Storm in 2027. So they are definitely making moves there. Now, Oren Keeley has far more superstar potential than a guy of like Jack Hetherington status, for example. But they're nailing it on all cylinders in terms of their recruitment at the moment.
Yeah, they definitely are. And it's a bit dangerous to see the sort of quality of play that they can actually bring to the club at the moment. They haven't had much money to play with for a while now, and I just felt there's a little bit more to come from that club. So Storm fans should be really excited. A quick one that sort of went under the radar a little bit. The North Queensland Cowboys have signed Matt Lodge. The less I say about this signing, probably the better, because it's not going to be great what I say. It's a mess signing. Whatever. I don't get it. If anything, this signing for me sums up where Todd Payton's at with this club and where this club is at, sort of thing. They're just the desperate signing just to go, you know what, we need an extra middle. Let's just go after Matt Lodge. And
look, it's a bit of a nothing signing. Not to say that Matt Lodge is nothing, but it's more so it doesn't really make sense from either side. Really, I would have much preferred for Matt Lodge to go over to the Super League, make some better coin, and probably have a little bit more of an impact. So when I say nothing signing, that's more what I mean. It's funny. I actually received a message from a Cowboys fan who responded to one of the stories I put up about this, saying, "This is the saddest news I've heard in Cowboys history," which is just ridiculous to think about, because it's like these Cowboys fans are not overly stoked about this, and rightfully so. It's just taking up salary cap, and it's just filler. It's a filler headline. Now, obviously, Matt Lodge can make a few headlines, probably because of his polarizing nature as opposed to his actual on the field, ability and talent. He's getting up there. I believe this is his 7th NRL team. I might be wrong, but he's definitely played at quite a few NRL clubs. I much would have preferred he just went over to the Super League, made a bit more money, and probably had a bit more of an impact.
From the Cowboys' point of view as well, I don't want to get too deep into this. Just a quick one. What I always don't get with these sorts of signings, and multiple clubs do it, where they get like this experienced sort of guy who's literally on his last legs, not really making an impact, just one of those mess sort of signings. Always sit there and go, surely you've got like a young guy in your club who you're probably looking at going, oh, he's probably 6 months off where we'd be comfortable putting him into first grade. Why not just go, you know what, let's just put him in early. Let's just see if sink or swim sort of mentality and just give him a go. Let's just see what can happen. Not much, like surely it can't be bad. Salary cap wouldn't be any worse off than what they're paying Lodge. It just doesn't make much sense to me why a lot of clubs do this or go out and sign like a Lodge or someone like that when you know for a fact, like the Cowboys would have 2 or 3 good young guns who are there doing what they're doing, training up. Just give one of them a go, guys. Like whatever. The last one before we get out of here, just a quick one. It's just a little dog's dilemma. And this is just a little teaser into 2026 content. This is going to be a big talking point for the Bulldogs, but I want to get your thoughts on it quickly. So, who starts in the halves next year for the Bulldogs? So, if 3 into 2 don't go, Isaac, you've got Mitch Woods, you've got Lockie Galvin, and you've got Matty Burton. Now, taking you back to where Gus basically dropped, whether it was on purpose or not, that he sees Mitch Woods as the future at halfback for the Bulldogs, and he made it sort of sound like it was effectively almost immediately as well. Like he sort of, and to me, in a way, I look at it and I think after the season the Dogs have just had where there was so much uncertainty around the spine, you want to be going into next year with as much of that gone as possible. So if there's even the hint or the thought that throughout 2026, the halves are going to be Mitch Woods and Lockie Galvin, that's what I'd be starting with. I'd just go with it from the start, name them all there, have Burton as like a floating, roaming sort of center and do what he can do. I know that means probably Sherry goes elsewhere potentially, but I'd personally probably rather Matty Burton with what his all-around game and what he can do to stay there. But what are your thoughts on who ends up in the halves?
Yeah, this is a bit of a tricky one. And just quickly speaking of Lockie Galvin, I just want to give a quick shout out to Tom Galvin, his brother, who has just come from the West Tigers. So another Galvin leads the Tigers to the Bulldogs, which is absolutely hilarious. So I just wanted to quickly throw that one in. But yes, we've got not Tom Galvin, Lockie Galvin, who is fighting for that number 6 spot. You've got Burton, who's also fighting for that 6 spot, and you've got Mitchell Woods, who's fighting for the 7 role. Now, I will say before I give my, opinion on this, Sean O'Sullivan, who was brought over from the Dolphins over in the offseason to be somewhat of a mentor in the halves, was speaking, and I caught a little bit of perhaps a bit of hesitation on his end when answering one of the questions, discussing why he was brought to the club. Was basically saying he's really keen to work on the halves pairing or the growth and development of Lockie Galvin and Mitchell Woods, and really centered in on that before then throwing Matt Burton at the end there. Now, obviously, Matt Burton is a bit more of a veteran, so I do understand it from that angle, but at the same time, it did sound like Sean O'Sullivan was brought in to essentially help nurture the growth of Lockie Galvin and Mitchell Woods as a half in the halves. Now, in saying that, what I would be doing, Mitchell Woods is the halfback of the future, and he needs to be the halfback of now. In Lockie Galvin is a premier number 6, potentially top 3 number 6 at his best. So I'd be having my halves as Mitchell Woods, and I'd be having Lockie Galvin in there as well. Now, I know a lot of people are hoping for Matt Burton to play at center. I actually don't have him at center. I prefer to have him at lock. I'd like to see him in that number 13 jumper. He's a big body. He's a silky ball player. He's got a great running game. And he's a good defender as well. So I don't think that you put him out over in the centers. I think it's a waste somewhat or chucking him over in the centers. He's an absolute star. And I look at someone like Cam Murray, Isaiah Yeo, locks like these who, specifically Isaiah Yeo, who I believe came through in the halves, to a lesser degree, Jamin Salmon, who's the current lock really for the Bulldogs, also came through in the halves. Like, you've got these guys who have played in the halves. They shift into that ball playing lock. I think that we get a little bit too negated and bogged down into what a lock really is. At the end of the day, if you can have 3 halves on the field, you won't get a bad result. And so I definitely can see Matt Burton sliding that number 13 jumper. There has been talks of him at fullback. I'm against it. Phil Gould has come out and said he absolutely will not play fullback for the Canterbury Bayside Bulldogs. I don't want to see him in the centres, and not so much because I'm fearful of losing Bronson Sherry on that edge. I don't think he was as impressive in 2025 as he was in 24. But at the same time, I just think that you'll get your most value out of him if he does play lock.
Yep, 100%. It'll be interesting to see what happens over the off season. I've got no doubt we'll start hearing a bit more whispers as they start to train, all the players come back, things like that, and we'll start hearing a bit more of an understanding on where things are at. But I just think for the Bulldogs side of things, don't go back into what this year ended up being. Go all in with whoever your half's going to be, and just stick with them throughout the year. Go for gold there. That's it, guys. That is all we've got time for 2025. It's been an absolutely massive year on a content point of view. And firstly, I just want to say a massive thank you to my team, to all the guys and girls behind the scenes and on the podcast that help me week to week, whether it's a Supercoach one or our regular NRL ones. I'm very, very thankful for everything that you guys do. Probably don't show it enough, but I definitely am. It's been a massive, massive year, and without all the hard work from everyone, we wouldn't be where we are today. To everyone out there that's listening, obviously that rap stuff came out today as well, which is crazy timing, but the growth we've had at the moment from the podcasting point of view, just from Spotify alone, has been huge. We've just, some of our numbers are crazy, and we're still very much a little fish, and there's some big whale sharks out there. I fully get that, but I absolutely love this LOI community that we've got and what we've built, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger. And I love all the interactions. I love everyone's opinions. It can get feisty at times, and that's what I love about this game. Everyone has such strong opinions. The 95% of people out there that keep it respectful, absolutely love it. And everyone that takes time out of your day, whatever you're doing, whether it's to drive home from work, to work, mowing your lawn, whatever you're doing, housework, and you want to listen to us and listen to the podcast, I thank you guys so much for everything that you guys have done for us and helped us grow and get out there to as many people as possible. To everyone that's come on as guests throughout the year, we've had many people. I don't want to miss any names, but I'll quickly say a few names. We've got Retro Rugby League, The Knighted, Nick Davis, who all jumped on and did some stuff for us with our big off-season podcast, which were awesome. Pub talk and the reviews, things like that. Isaac has been absolutely amazing for the page as well. He's come on and done plenty of work with us throughout the year, which I'm very, very thankful for. This podcast was basically short notice. We're just in conversation. I just said, mate, just want to jump on and just do some off-season content. There's plenty of stories happening. Let's just do something. And he was more than happy to. And happy to tease something for now, guys. It's still in the works. It's not confirmed, so I'm not going to say much. But for now, next year's Tuesday preview podcast will be one that you will not want to miss. The potential lineup we've got for it is huge. And I feel like it's going to explode the platforms everywhere next year. Very, very excited to see what potentially happens there. But thank you very, very much to everyone out there. I hope you all have a fantastic Christmas, New Year's, everything. We will be back in a few weeks to do the first of our massive Supercoach shows. But Isaac, as I said, mate, thank you very, very much for everything you've done. You've been a huge help for us this year, and even collabing on Instagram, things like that. Absolutely appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, man. And look, it's, I think it's been a big year for all of us, and having the opportunity to come on here, see the audience that you guys have, has been absolutely cool. So honestly, like, credit to all you guys, because, I see the comments and I see a lot of, familiar names and faces who continue to come back. And it's clear that you guys have really built a real cool community here. And I'm grateful that I've gotten the opportunity to be a part of it. And yeah, as you said, like, we've got some really big things coming next year. And some even, more long-term projects as well that we're working on that I'm absolutely stoked to be a part of. But look, it's an exciting time, and look, there are heaps of whether it's journalists, podcasts, social media pages, heaps of them everywhere. And the fact that you guys come here to listen to what we have to say, and the news that we kind of bring, is an absolute honor. So thank you, Joel, for having me on this year, and I'm absolutely stoked to see what we can do next year and after that as well.
Mate, I absolutely have loved having you, and hopefully, like I said, into next year we continue this on as well. One final thank you, and I'll be probably shot if I don't say it, because it is the main reason I can do what I do. I wanted to say a big personal thank you to my partner, Miso. Without her looking after, we've got a kid under 2, a teenager as well. Without her being able to hold the fort for 2, sometimes 3 nights of the week, each week. I work full time. I come home and then I'm basically on the laptop doing stuff for this page to make sure I get you guys the best content possible. If it wasn't for her legendary status, being able to do what she would not be where it was at today, guys. And that's basically just the pure facts about it, because I need to spend the time to get this to where it is. So thank you very much. Absolutely love you. And I probably don't show that enough either, but I think you do for our family and what I can then produce for you guys out there, I very much appreciate as well. But that's it. Getting out of here. Thank you very much, guys. 2025 has been a hell of a ride. 2026, the fun's just getting started. We'll see you all soon.